Hello, welcome back to Inocracy, dear participants, and welcome to our very first format, which is called the Vision Sprint. We are very excited to try out this new format, which is rather creative and tries to get a picture of a possible future. So what we do in this Vision Sprints is that we asked a person to actually describe what her ideal day in her life in the year 2035 would look like. She wrote it down, and we gave that text to a graphic artist, which is Leo Leowald, and he put this story into pictures. So what you will watch now in a minute will be a short movie, so to say, of a possible future of our first visionary, who's Nino. Nino is the director of Foresight from Georgia, and after that Vision Sprint, we are happy to welcome Wolfgang Gründinger with us to go into a reflection about that very Vision Sprint. So please enjoy now a day in Nino's life in 2035.
And this is a day in my life in 2035. The day started without an alarm clock. If there are no early morning meetings or calls, there is a space for peaceful waking up. Siri, coffee with milk, I exclaimed, entering the kitchen. The machine did not move. The kids must have reprogrammed the machine. They often experiment with home electronics. Maybe it was even their engineering class assignment at the elementary school. It is crazy, learning programming. Maybe that's why the coffee machine does not respond to my orders anymore. I laughed and went old school. I refilled the container with tap water. The purest water after the central filtering system had been installed years ago. No need for getting water in plastic containers and then caring for recycling. I loaded the machine with biodegradable capsules and pressed the power button. I miss this morning routine nowadays in almost fully automated home settings. The room gets filled with the freshly made coffee aroma. No matter how much technology changes our lives, newly made coffee smell still remains irreplaceable. Today it is Dad's morning for kids, meaning I can enjoy my morning running, doing yoga, or just taking care of the plants and flowers in the garden, while kids get ready for school with Dad's help. Taking turns helps us find the balance between family and work life, as well as personal time for reflections and full recharge. I headed out to our vertical garden. A small screen at the bottom indicated that the automated watering level had been adjusted to the humidity, and the additional fertilizers were not needed either. The only thing left was to pick the fresh greens and serve. Getting the vertical garden significantly decreased our household's ecological footprint. Kids are happy. We are making it in the top 20% of global rankings of the most eco-friendly households, according to the Global Eco app, having more than 3 billion users, almost 1/3 of the world population. We have a family council next week. The kids are going to propose a new plan on what to cut down in order to improve our results and make it in top 10%. Sometimes I regret sending them to the eco camps. Their demands for the better planet cost some of our favorite, though not eco-friendly activities. But well, in the end, they deserve a better place to live, and we need to sacrifice some of our traditions in order to ensure it. After breakfast, I took the kids to the bus stop. The self-driving, all-electric school bus came shortly after, and I waved goodbye to them. Introducing self-driving school buses and public transport has not only reduced the city emissions significantly, but it has also made city and intercity transportation much safer. 0 accidents among self-driving cars in the last 5 years, and the total road accidents decreased by 90% in the last 20 years. This could be one of the biggest achievements of the last decades, I would say, considering that prior to this, hundreds lost their lives on roads and thousands would get injured every year. All this just in Georgia. I decided to hop on the city bike and get to the office. Along the river, autumn rides are the best. Colorful leaves all around, squirrels, sparrows, and pigeons. It's both amusing and calming, which is funny because living in the same city, it has never been this good to live, commute, and enjoy life here. I reached the office early enough to sit down with my team members and have a casual talk before we started planning the next big project. While most of the team members work remotely and even from different countries, today is a special day. We are getting a special award for creating the best working environment, being inclusive, diverse, and global for the fifth time in the row already. But it has become a nice tradition to bring all the team members together on this special day. Every year it
Can I
makes
speak
me
now?
more and more proud to see how once a small social enterprise has evolved into a truly global creative hub for change makers, using technology for social good. This year is also special. We have the most diverse national representation of team members, 58 countries represented in our team of up to 500 members. Most of them are still of Caucasian origins from Georgia and neighboring countries. Georgians, Azeris, Armenians, Turks, Russians, Iranians, but we even have a team member from Edinburgh of the Seven Seas, which is an island in the South Atlantic Ocean, an overseas territory of the United Kingdom. The technologies from our neighboring countries make the best employees though. Since the signature of the Universal Caucasian Peace Treaty, the armed conflict stopped in the region. However, the competition from the battlefield has moved to other, more peaceful domains, such as the terminal and the command line. The region has brought up many rising stars in technology, and the entire region shines with the tech talent. Having access to that has also helped us become a global company addressing the social issues with technological solutions. Before the award ceremony, we decided to get the team together for the interim assessment of our recent project, an app engaging locals in decision making. The app has been out for a year now, only in selected 10 countries, and the results we got shows the highest engagement, both quantity and quality-wise. On average, 3 out of 4 adults are regular users of the app, and the discussions and conversations through the platform are constructive. Using algorithms that analyze narratives, the public officials take insights from the users in real time, enabling them to incorporate their feedback in the decision-making. I was pleasantly surprised with the testing results, to be honest. In my early years in the industry, I had seen or even worked on similar apps myself, all failing at an early stage, mostly by not engaging enough number of users to be truly impactful. However, our new product has proved to be a real success, mostly because of effectively incorporating intuitive design, targeting users on the issues they are interested in, and by developing algorithms turning large amounts of user input into easy-to-digest insights for the policymakers. We raised a glass of wine to success and made the decision to launch the product in dozens of new countries early next year. I decided to go to the office garden to rehearse my speech for the award ceremony. On the ground floor, just before entering the garden, I passed by our office nursery, an initiative that is widely adopted right now in all working places. However, we were the first ones almost a decade ago introducing a care center for the working mom's children. I spent a few minutes watching kids through the glass door. In the green room, there were around 10 kids playing independently, surrounded by robot carers. Recent studies show that for kids of a certain age, it is better to provide an unsupervised playing environment. We just have robots scanning the room for extra safety. While in the yellow room, there are a couple of nannies taking care of babies. I firmly believe that having the nursery supported creating the environment for both men and women to thrive in the workplace. Probably one of the reasons why we are getting the prize today. I rehearsed my speech a few times, but had a glass of local wine before I actually had to say it. I don't remember if I followed the script, but I remember the audience clapping in the end. Probably it was not that bad. Or maybe others were also tipsy and they did not care much. The award ceremony took place on the top floor of our office building. Usually we convert it into a co-working space, inviting young creatives and technologists to use the space to work and network, and to come up with the ideas that one day will change a world in a better place. After all those glasses of Georgian wine, I think the world is quite a good place right now. But well, it could always be better. May the new generations make it so.
Hello and welcome back to the official reflection to the vision sprint of Nino Macharashvili, who is director of Forset in Georgia. We have invited someone for this reflection who may be introduced by a AAA. Wolfgang Gründinger is an activist, an advisor, and an analyst, and we are incredibly happy that he agreed to join us to reflect upon the vision sprint of Nino. So, Wolfgang, the floor is yours, and after quite a while, we will let Nino join you.
Hello everyone, can you hear and see me? I think so, yeah, okay. I'm very thankful and grateful for having the privilege to give a few remarks on Nino's story about her possible day in the year 2035, which is a future that is not so very ahead of us. Just think back, I'm old enough, of the year 2005, which is 15 years in the past, whereas 2035 is 15 years in the future. And the year 2005 looked very different from nowadays. There was no iPhone around, so we couldn't even use Google Maps to find where we have to go for, let's say, a restaurant, or even to find where we are and then head home again. The most powerful and the most valuable companies on the world were oil and gas companies, whereas nowadays it's Google and Amazon and other key drivers of digitization. And probably most pressing of all topics, we didn't imagine Trump to happen, we didn't imagine Brexit to happen, and we didn't imagine a global pandemic to happen. So this is just 15 years ago, where we didn't think of the year 2020 as such a changed future. And I love Nino's vision a lot because it shows perfectly how technology and society interplay. Just let's start with a coffee machine example. So even in 15 years from now, with self-driving cars around, we couldn't even fix the coffee machine problem, which is a very good example for a more underlying fundamental problem. If I say, Siri, coffee please, then the machine would have to use a robot arm to put a cup under the machine to get the coffee from the machine into the cup. So that's just one very little piece of how machines need humans to interact with them. And even if you put on the cup yourself under the machine, perhaps the night before, because then you would have to not have to put the cup there in the morning. You just wake up. In his example, you don't even have an alarm clock anymore, and you just get the coffee because you put up the cup the night before. No, that also would not be possible, because then the coffee would have perhaps in it. So that fantastically shows how technology is never independent from human action, is never independent from society. So we always need the interaction between coffee machines, or machines in general, and human behavior. Machines must be built for humans. Machines cannot exist with their own rules. They always must interplay with humans. Or in the other example Nino gives of self-driving school buses, there is the same problem basically as for coffee machines. Autonomous vehicles won't work without a societal context. This is why Daimler, for instance, a big car manufacturer, employs social scientists as their futurists. If I, as a human driver, see a pedestrian or a biker who wants to cross the road, I might just be a friendly person and stop for a minute and let him or her cross the road. Or in Nino's story with a self-driving school bus, will the bus stop and wait if the rear camera sees a kid running towards the bus? Or would the computer say, well, this is my time schedule, this is where I'm supposed to be now, this is where I'm supposed to get now, and I drive as I'm scheduled? Or would the computer, stop and wait for the kid to board the bus? So what should the rules be for friendly cars in the future? Should there be a law to regulate the friendliness level of cars? Will car manufacturers have different levels of friendliness of their cars as part of their brand image? Or will every car have 3 different settings, not friendly, medium friendly, and very friendly, and let the driver, the human driver, switch to the different mode? Or let's just turn to the yoga example in Nino's story, which is a very powerful example of mindfulness in the workday. I just think a few months back at the first lockdown in March and April, when many of my friends fell into a mental hole. So once because they lost their jobs overnight, others because they were, for instance, consultants, and then their business flights and meetings were cancelled, and that they had to spend all of a sudden overnight their lives in their homes, not in offices, not in planes, not in hotels. And so they just sat at home and cooked dinner instead of working 80 hours a week. And after reflecting this, a few weeks later, they told me, no, they don't want to go back to the old normal. They did yoga, as Nino in her example. They discovered meditation, or they just took care for their kids and for their families. They called friends. They cooked dinner for friends, which they had never done before. So they thought about what really, really matters in life. And they wondered, what do I really, really want instead of 80-hour work weeks and spending my life in airplanes and hotels? And I'm very curious how life will look like in 2035. If yoga, like in Nino's example, will be kind of squeezed into the morning of a day, on Dad's Day, when the father once takes care for the kids and not the mother is in charge. Interestingly, this sort of kind of, I imagine, didn't change a lot, like that the gender stereotypes, the gender roles are still intact. Or we will have a new normal, which integrates mindfulness and the workday, where work is just a part of life and perhaps not the most important part of life. So do we know in 15 years what we really, really want? I also found very interesting the global eco app that Nico described, where the kids propose a plan for the family to live a better, or let's say a more environmental friendly lifestyle in the family. And it's again here, the kids who propose that plan. It's not the adults. It's like just now in the year 2019, 2020, where it's a global youth movement led by Greta Thunberg, Fridays for Future, where kids and youth push for climate protection. It's not the elderly, it's not the adults, it's the kids, the youth, who propose a plan for the future. And what I noticed, what I found surprising or striking, is that in Nino's vision for her day in 2035, the kids, they make a plan for the family to lead a more climate-friendly life. But they don't make a plan for politicians and push for better regulation. So they, to give a metaphor for this, they don't fight to change the rules of the game, to have a fairer game. They propose to play the game in a different way. And then there is another app. It's not only the Global Eco app, it's the app for engaging citizens in decision making. And this example reminded me a bit of the app in the dystopian novel The Circle. There, at the end of the novel, there is an app which integrates many different functionalities, and where citizens are enabled and empowered to give real-time constant feedback to policymakers. In this novel, however, this is not a positive vision, it's a negative vision for the future. It's a dystopia, because the parliamentarian system is being replaced by a digital democracy. Their policymakers are dependent on what people give in terms of feedback in an app, and just raise their hands or not, say yes or no instantly, all the time. Is this something we want? And against the backdrop of fake news, of propaganda, of hate spreading online, Is this something that can work? I'm very happy to discuss those questions. I think that digital technologies can enable a better future, and in Nino's vision, they do enable a better future, a brighter future for us all. But let's also not forget about possible collateral damage that technology can bring with it. And so I'm very happy to discuss with you and with Nino about her vision for the future in 2035, in only 15 years from now. And perhaps we can bring Nino in now. Ah, yeah, there you are. You are
Hi.
in Georgia, right? Hello.
Sorry? Yes, can you hear me?
You're in Georgia now, yeah? And you are, yeah, we can hear you. And you are
Yes.
self-quarantined now in your second week. Good to have you, and good
Yes.
you're healthy and
No, I
smiling.
just got out today.
Okay, amazing. So I have a few questions for you because I found your vision that you did for the Progressive Center really fascinating and striking. So first of all, it's practically the same life we have today, but a bit different. So is progress so slow, or is it just so difficult to imagine a very different future?
Well, 15 years is not that long to like totally change our lives. I think what I was trying to imagine or convey in my vision sprint is that like no matter how technology will change, no matter how much like all these daily habits might change, all this like driving, transportation, and so on. It will like we will still be human beings who enjoy the same things that we enjoy now and that we enjoyed 15 years ago. You were saying like how different life is today compared to 2005, but in a sense it's the same. Like we are happy for like spending time with our family, with our friends, being positive about future. There are like certain things that we are worried or concerned about. So I think these basic things will stay the same. Only the like tools and methodologies, like how we actually achieve our happiness, might change. And That's kind of like like when I was thinking about the future, I was also looking at the time frame. So 15 years, okay, like how much is it gonna change? And that's why like I think the duration dictated me getting to that, according to you,
Yeah.
not that different future.
Yeah. Well, you said the smell of the coffee, for instance, in the morning makes you
It
feel
stays the
better and
same, yeah.
doesn't change, really. Yeah. And you said, Siri, coffee with milk, please. So, or you didn't even say please. So you don't really, you're not very friendly to the machine. You just say Siri with coffee with milk, right? So
That
you
must be
still
a
handle the
cultural
machine as a
thing. Like
machine, huh?
actually,
Yeah.
we do not say like too many times please in Georgian. So maybe
Oh,
like that's
okay,
a
good.
thing. So like my machine would
Okay.
also be like okay with me not using please
Yeah.
in the
What
morning.
type of milk would it be? Would it be cow milk? Would it be
Oh,
oat
I think it
milk?
would be
Would it?
bio milk, like this organic,
Yeah.
like right from the farms. No,
Yeah.
not from my garden. It wouldn't be possible, but very, very,
No.
very like natural. That I think like what I wanted to like convey as well is that um, in the last decades, at least like from my perspective, like Georgian perspective, we have been detaching ourselves more from nature, from all this like natural stuff, and I think we will be going back, like trying to get closer to all those things in the next 15 years. And that's what I was trying to also like imagine in having this garden near my house and being eco-friendly and all those things.
It is a very positive future that you're imagining. Is it because you're just a very positive person, or is it because you have so much hope in humankind, or why is it so positive? Because at the very moment we have a global pandemic, we have perhaps a civil war in the United States ahead of us. There are so many bad things
And
happening
we
at the
have a
moment.
war actually in our
So
region. Like two of like Georgia's neighbors are in a war. So
yeah.
it's like it was like really hard to stay
So
positive
what makes you so
in all
positive? Yeah.
this. Well, I do not see the like any other way, to be honest. Like, because what is the alternative? Like, we need this positivism in order to achieve a better future, right? The alternative is just, I don't know, like getting depressed, not moving forward, and not thinking that the better future is possible. Um, so yeah, it was like really challenging, even though like I'm generally quite positive and hopeful and optimistic for the future. For this particular like few weeks when I was working on the vision sprint, it was like super challenging. And I think like Paulina will agree with me, because we had like actually to go back and forth for a few times to like work on the script, because I really felt down because of all these things that you named. But yeah, I think we should not let ourselves get into despair, maybe like only for a few hours or a few days. But after that, we need to get back on our feet and think positively, like not only dream and hope, but actually work in order to achieve the better future that we want for ourselves and for the newer generations.
It's a wonderful energy that you're having, and I hope that you are a super spreader of positive vibes and good energy. And I just thought of your global eco app and the kids that are fighting, like convincing their parents to make their family life more sustainable. So I wonder, is a better future, is climate protection, is that something like we as individuals have to strive for, or is it also something that the policymakers come in, their companies come in? I mean, you yourself, for instance, are also with social enterprises, very, very active, and also social enterprises are also part of your vision. So what's the role of companies? What's the role of governments in there? And how can technology
Yeah.
help?
Actually, it was like very interesting to listen to your reflection when you highlighted the fact that in my vision sprints, the individual responsibility is taken, like, or it's like highlighted more rather than this, like what the government would be doing kind of thing. Well, I did not say anything about the government, right? So maybe there are some policies which make it. Like, which is like more eco-friendly and is like reasonable, but I think no policy can be effective unless each of us individually take responsibility on our future. And I think even the pandemic is a very good example for that, because every day like I'm facing these discussions between like two opinions, one of them being like asking for more regulations in order to decrease the number of infected cases, and the other ones are more like concentrating on the individual responsibility and taking charge of your own actions and following the regulations. And the thing is that like unless we learn that we also are like responsible for the outcomes, like if we always be dependent on others, like if we ask the policymakers to like create this best future, it's not gonna work, like no way, because there is no way that any policymaker can come up with the idea which will be equally acceptable for everyone, and that's why this individual responsibility should come in place. Also, maybe like you know, like your perspective and my perspective on this issue is different, because you come from the country where some institutions work properly, and I guess like the society as well is more like in charge of their actions, while in our part of the world there is still some space of improvement and taking more personal like responsibilities. So maybe like that's also kind of why we see, like you and me, like differently these things. But definitely I think it should be a collaborative action from the like ordinary citizens, responsible citizens, and governments and policymakers. But again, like it's us who is going to demand better policies, right? We cannot expect that one day a politician who was
Yeah.
elected will just like come up with an excellent plan for the planet. No, like it still should be us who will be involved and engaged and will help them or demand them to take good decisions. So like even in the realistic or like even in the perfect future, I do not envision having the government which will take care of stuff by themselves, because I don't think that's possible, because I come from the country which which lived in the Soviet Union for 70 years, and anything that is anything that is relying on the state and like there's like few people in charge, I don't think that's really gonna work in the long run.
Yeah, right. Unfortunately, even the best politicians don't have a magic wand. So it's always up to us as citizens to push them forward and to control the government. How can technology come in here? And how can we use technology not only in a tech-savvy way, but perhaps also in a mindful way? So at the moment, we observe that while I think personally that technology and social media, for instance, in particular, have helped me a lot and have helped millions around the world to live more interesting lives, to connect to their friends, to even have their jobs in this field. There is also other developments like the spread of fake news and hate and propaganda that even led to genocides in Myanmar and elsewhere. So how do we react to those technologies? I mean, it's like the same after Gutenberg invented the printing press, no one was able to read or write yet. So what's our skill we need in the future to be more to be readers and writers, just as in Gutenbergian times with the book print?
Well, actually, like it was also a surprising factor for me that like when you commented on this app, which is the means to get like citizens' opinions and insights to the policymakers, like you commented on that as something like negative, even though I didn't have that in mind as something negative. Like I actually like on contrary, I thought it would be a successful way and tool to create this connection between people in charge and ordinary citizens. So because even, even if a politician has the best interests, they might still not be able to make good decisions because they do not have access to all this like perspective and insights of ordinary people. So that's like kind of what in my vision, this kind of product could come in handy and help create this bridge. But then like when you commented on it as like something negative, like it actually like made me think. But back to your question as well, I think like any technological solution or any new invention is not good or bad in itself, positive or negative. It can be anyways, like depending on how people use those technologies. So I think when you're asking like what skills should we have in the future, I don't think it should be like any specific tech skill, because like as people used to learn to read and write, now we learn how to use computers, machines, and so on, and the future generations will be even more tech savvy because it will be the environment, it will be kind of by default skills that they will have to get. But what we need to become and how we can actually use all these technological developments for the like positive future of the world is just to like stay or become human, kind, responsible, and respecting others. I think as long as like these are like very basic human values, and like really like no matter whether we are taking horses from a place to place, or trains, or self-driving cars, or self-flying planes, it doesn't matter. Or like even if we go to like another planet, like no matter how big the technological developments are, we still need to stay like this, like keep these basic human values, and then we will ensure that all the technological developments will be for the good of humanity. Otherwise, anything, even like whatever we have right now, can be turned into something negative. So yeah, I think we just like need to talk more about what are the basic values of humanity that we need to be either like teaching or conveying to each other or advocating for, like whatever we call it.
So in your day in the future, your kids also go to school still, right? So there's an old-fashioned school bus, however it's self-driving, but still they go to school, right? So what do they learn in school? Is it human
Well,
basic values? Is it
engineering
what
and
they
programming,
covered?
as you learned from
Okay.
my coffee machine experience, as I told you, like,
Oh, yeah,
like instead
that's
of,
true.
or like together with reading and writing, they also learn how to interact with computers and robots, because that's going to be the reality, right? Or in my vision at least. But yeah, I was thinking actually about this like school part, because I was also thinking maybe, especially like these pandemics have shown that maybe the schools will be overrated and like they can like fully become digital by the time. But then in the end, I decided that we still need like some kind of socialization for our kids. So I think schools will still be there, or like some versions of schools. Um, However, as you also learned from Division Sprint, they also go to eco camps, and that's actually where they learn about this, maybe like one of the basic human values of being eco-friendly and being kind of like future oriented and a responsible citizen. So I don't really think that like much will change in 15 years in like what we are teaching kids. Okay, like engineering, programming, but what else can change? Um,
And to be nice people, right?
Yes,
Because
I
that's
think
most
that's like
fundamental,
what we
perhaps.
need to relearn, because I think we are born with this like knowledge how to be a good human being, and then some things uh, change our attitudes and like opinions. And I hope in the future we'll be able to relearn or like reteach um, our kids how to be good human beings.
And one last question for our reflection. If you imagine that the COVID-19 pandemic would not have happened today, but only in 2035, so exactly when your day is about to happen, what would be different? So imagine the same day in your vision sprint, but with a global pandemic around.
Well, it would be much easier because I would have my garden, so we could like self-feed ourselves. Probably we would have like smoother delivery services, and we would be more digital. So like why we cannot fight against the pandemics right now very effectively, because there are still like majority of jobs are like physical based. So like many people are not able to like go fully remote. I think in 2035 it will be like much easier to like lock down, like create lockdown for like 1 month, everyone working remotely, and then this kind of like infection like chain would be cut much easily. And I also hope that in 2035 the governments could have be probably more how to say like I think if the governments were had more coordinated actions, and they saw the early warnings, like they saw the signs early enough, this whatever we are facing now, it could have been avoided. And I think in 2075, hopefully, it would be easier to be more effective in tackling these kind of pandemics, just like cutting the transmitting chain much earlier and creating safer environment and getting through this instead of like 2 years in like 1 or 2 months.
Okay, thank you. Fantastic. I think our time is over. For the audience, if you
Yes.
Google Nino, make sure that you don't mix her up as I did with the other Nino with the same name, also from Georgia. So it's her, it's not the other one, right? And I'm
Well, there are
looking
actually a
forward back
few
to
people who are Googleable
you're
with
used
my
to it,
name.
right?
So
Okay, it's confusing. So thank you. It was a very interesting talk. I hope that we stay in touch because internet makes it possible to even bridge continents and borders. So thank you for your vision sprint, and I give the floor back to Paulina.
Thank you very much. It was like really interesting experience, and I think we should come back together in 15 years just to like recheck our
Oh, yes, we should.
perceptions and predictions for the
Let's
future.
do a fact checking. Yeah.
Okay, thank you both very much. If das Progressive Zentrum still exists in 15 years, what I sincerely hope, then I will consider it our job to bring you two together and have a check about this vision sprint. And I actually hope a lot, Nino, that my kids will be learning programming in elementary school, because I think I will be one of these annoying parents who don't know how to fix their devices and don't know how to upgrade their computers, etc. So let's sincerely hope this part of your vision will become true, and also the sustainable stuff around a vertical garden sound amazing. Thank you, Wolfgang, for your great reflection and for all the questions you prepared for Nino. It was lovely to hear you two getting into a conversation. Everyone, we will go into a 15-minute break now, and